Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. It's been a long time, about a month, I think, since we were on last. And of course, there's been a lot of things that have happened in the last month. And we wanted to come on and talk to you guys about some of the things that have been going on and try to give you some, first of all, encourage you. Don't get discouraged, get wise. Okay. You don't have to be, don't be discouraged. If you've been living in fear, don't live there. Change your address. Okay. Don't, don't live there. It's not a good place, not a good neighborhood. Okay. It makes you tired, you lose your sleep, all that kind of stuff. Not the kind of weight loss program you want to be on because you're walking around paranoid and in fear. So there's a few things that we want to talk to you about. First of all, please remember to hit a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. We know that this live broadcast was not, it wasn't scheduled. We just decided to just come on and do some talking. So anyway, here we are. And we're going to say some things, so you better listen fast because they might take this video down. They took one of mine down on my other channel. I appealed it and they said, nope, we're going to leave it down. So anyway, I went back on and discussed some of the same things that I had before, and I just changed the way I said it, and it's still up there, surprisingly enough. But anyway, so we'll be talking about some things during this broadcast that may be controversial to the powers that be that don't want you to be able to think for yourself. So, having said that, listen fast because we don't know how long it's going to be up there. But so we had some things that we wanted to talk about, and I'm going to let Chris go first. And we have different approaches about things. So I've already given him the disclaimer to about trigger words and stuff. So hopefully we'll last through the video. And when you guys get a chance to see this, those of you that'll be watching later, just remember to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you have not already. We do not do this for money. YouTube does not pay us for this channel. Trust me, not a dime. So, we're on here just because we like talking to people and, sharing some of our experience and stuff. We usually would show you things with the chickens or what's going on out here at the RV. But there's other things that are going on that I think take precedence over that. And so we want to talk about some of those things. And just by the way, I still got this really weird cough. I can't explain it. But ever since I got sick, back in whenever it was, January, I'm not sick now. I just have this lingering weird tickle that happens right around in here. And then it makes me cough. It doesn't hurt or anything. It's just like a weird tickle. So if you hear me cough, don't run, put on your mask. All right. You'll be okay. Trust me, you'll be okay. I've been coughing my whole life. So anyway, at one time or another, you'll be all right. So having said all that, I'll let Chris talk about what he wants to talk about, and then I'll jump in occasionally or not, and we'll see how it goes.
Hello all, it is I, the Striking Viking here, and along with your beloved correspondent, the Trippin' Sister, we're going to try and present a couple of ideas to you, which you may or may not have considered. We have gathered this information from a number of sources, none of which are mainstream sources. There's a reason for that, and you may be in the same position as we are, that you've viewed what the mainstream information sources have brought forward for a long time and realized that they're all singing from the same song sheet. And so if you're getting nothing but the same day in, day out, yet your own eyes and your own wisdom is telling you otherwise, then you're going to have to try and reorient your thinking to come up with what you think works for you. The sister and I utilize a number of sources of information, and we aggregate that information and then use the wisdom which has been provided to us to distill the information into a workable worldview that works for us. The first item that I would like to discuss today is groceries. How are you doing with the groceries? Have you been to the store lately? We had made some decisions ourselves that we would not utilize the great big box stores as much as possible. These are the ones which you will remember stayed open during the recent troubles, and while forces were at work to get rid of all the independents, all the mom and pop shops, and all the small businesses. They were doing their best to shut them down. But the big box stores, oh no, you can stay open. You can still shop in those. So we've switched a large part of our shopping to the small independent stores because these are people that live in our neighborhoods that go to school with our kids, not our kids because they're all old.
Older.
Older.
They'd have a problem with us calling them old, and we're still here. So
Yeah,
older.
older.
They're not school age. We don't have school age children.
No school age children.
We're great grandparents.
Yes, which came as quite a shock. But there you are. So, yes, I have been in the big box stores myself if I needed to pick up one small item or another. And I had noticed that the amount of stock that they have is diminishing. I'm not the only one. We've seen numerous videos from people around the nation who say that they go into their stores and they cannot pick up what they normally would get because it's simply not available. Meanwhile, there are people in Washington who are telling us this is the best economy ever. So you kind of have to juxtapose what you're seeing with what they're saying and come up with what you believe the truth to be. There are large sections of the store which are completely empty. There are some sections of the store which they just simply have blocked off. And the prices of things have been climbing in some dramatic senses in some areas, particularly, I would think, in meat and perishable items. The cost for normal items that you would find at the greengrocer, vegetables and whatnot, they have been going up. And I don't think that by any means that we're unusual in our location. If you look around in your stores locally, you'll probably find that your prices have been going up as well. Now, you would think that it may be a temporary aberration. However, we have been told from, who's this? Sweet Legacy. It will get worse.
Yes.
Yes, it will, Sweet Legacy. As a matter of fact, we've been told by the person who currently inhabits the Oval Office, don't expect that things are going to go back to normal because they're not going to go back to normal. So, well, there you go. That's the word from on high. The prices for groceries will continue to increase. And had you noticed the price of gas? We filled up about 3 weeks ago. It was $2.45. And then we filled up about 10 days ago, and it had gone from $2.45 to $3.35. Then I noticed that the price was $3.60, but it did ameliorate a little bit. It went down to about $3.45. Now, when you consider that just at the end of 2019, we were buying gas very close to $1 a gallon.
Mm-hmm.
So $3.45 is quite a hike. However, if you've been watching our channel for any time, you know that I am originally Canadian, although I became an American because I believe in America, USA. And when I looked at my previous area of residence, gas there is $9.53 a gallon. You could say I don't miss that.
You could say that.
I remember when the sister first came up to live up there, we went grocery shopping. She said, I'd like to go grocery shopping. I said, sure, baby. She said, well, what can we get? I said, well, get anything you want. Just put it in the cart. So we got a cart, and the cart was relatively full. We went to the checkout, and the lady at the checker rang through the groceries, and she said, that'll be $456.25. The sister's eyes grew as big as millstones, and she said, "What?" And she said, "Yeah, 456.25." And she said, "You've got to be kidding me." And she said, "No, ma'am, that's what it says right here."
Yeah.
Because the prices are dramatically more. As a matter of fact, the last time we were up there, we actually stopped buying meat because a small ribeye steak,
Yeah.
about 7, 8 ounces of ribeye steak, they had one. It was marked down. It was just after Christmas, and it was marked down from $32 to $27.
28 or something. Yeah.
And we decided that we didn't need the beef that badly. So the fact that the prices have been rising in the way that they have been rising leads us to believe that the prices will continue to rise. And that's why we have been speaking for quite some time about laying in a sack of beans and rice. You need to have some form of backup. Now, I know that there was an executive order that came from the office of the chief executive that said if you have more than 3 days worth of food, you are considered a domestic terrorist. Well, okay, they can say what they want to say. However, I would think that most people have, a week's worth of food at a time laid up, and the prudent among us have a little more than a week's worth. It's a good idea to have some tinned vegetables and you know, some packages of pasta and whatnot set aside just in case. You never know. Here in where we are in the center of the country, there are frequent storms. And there are storms, and then the power goes out. Well, when the power goes out, you can't shop for groceries because all the stores are computerized, so they can't sell you anything. You can't get gas. You can't, get just the normal everyday things. So it's wise to have some stuff saved up, which we have and have been doing. Real estate prices have been going wacky. Now, who is this?
That's me. Just keep
Oh,
going.
that's you.
I'm just reminding everybody to subscribe to the channel if they haven't,
Yes.
and make sure they click the thumbs up button.
If you haven't subscribed, do so and give us a thumbs up. You can go back through our catalog of previous videos, and you may get a laugh. You may be appalled, but you may get a laugh. So please feel free. And also, if you're not subscribed to the Silver Crown Natural Hair channel, which is my baby's other channel, where she talks about all things hair, natural hair, and other things.
It evolved. I talk about other things too.
Other things too. Yeah. Real estate prices have been going up and up and up. We saw a little piece on YouTube about a house that was listed, and it was as though the locusts descended. And before the open house was even over, the real estate agent had multiple offers, much over asking price. In the area where I used to live, there are normal 2-bedroom, what you might call a bungalow. It's got a basement and a couple of bedrooms, maybe a deck out the back. These houses would have sold for, when I first got involved in real estate, they would have sold for maybe in the vicinity of 100,000. Now they're over $1 million, and the sales are vastly inflated.
Yeah,
people outbidding each other. One house was listed for $989,000 because it needed some work, and it ended up selling out for $1.6 million, which is just, to my way of thinking, that's kind of crazy, but it's good if you're selling real estate.
And Arizona is in a housing crisis.
Yes.
We have family that lives in Arizona, and there is nothing out there. There's no apartments, it's hard to find an Airbnb if you want to go visit someone. It doesn't have room for you. We have family that's trying to have a home built out there, and they literally have to stay in a hotel because there were no apartments to rent.
Yeah.
And then the hotels only let you stay there a certain amount of days. You have to check out. Hopefully you can check back into the same hotel. But if you can't, then if you find another place to stay, it's like, let's say it like this. When the Motel 6 is charging $120 a night, yeah, things are bad, because that's like a $39.99 hotel, or $60 at the most. And if they're charging $120, I mean, people are really It's just something. People are just trying to survive. These businesses, hotels, the restaurants that didn't get destroyed during all of these weird policies and things that were created out of convenience for the rich. Um, these businesses were struggling, and now because they were closed for so long or whatever, they have to really hike their prices just to make ends meet. Well, what happens is that trickles down. It's trickle down poverty is what it is. It trickles down to the average worker, or um, a person who makes below average per annum.
Mhm.
And it's devastating when people
Yeah.
have to choose between buying groceries and going to work.
Yeah.
It's terrible because the gas prices are eating up their budget.
Yeah.
So they are literally turning into slaves. And it has nothing to do with the color of your skin. If you're living on this planet right now, gas prices are ridiculous around the world, except for the Middle Eastern countries and stuff like that. They say, yeah, we ain't participating in that.
Yeah.
And so people, especially people that are working low wage paying jobs, if it was costing them 100 and something dollars a month to get back and forth to work, now it's costing them 300 and something, and they still have to go to the same job where they're not getting a raise because those corporations or companies had to raise their prices, cut benefits, and do whatever they had to do just to stay afloat. And so people have to choose between gas, food, or working for free. And when I say working for free, I mean your check goes to getting you to work. But by the time you get home, you get your paycheck, you get home, you don't have enough money to cover your expenses. So you're literally working for free.
Yeah.
It's a very sad situation that did not have to be. This is by design, folks. This did not have to be. And they're doing it because they want to change the monetary structure.
Mhm.
So you kill the dollar, kill whatever uh, monetary structure is in place, not just the dollar, but other
Currencies.
currencies around the
Yeah.
world, to bring in this whole new monetary system of buying and selling
Yeah.
that keeps a close eye on what you're buying, what you're selling, who you're buying it from, and where you're taking it to,
Right.
and all that. So there's a lot to this. This is not just some big old, oh, the virus did this. The virus didn't do this. The virus was the vehicle that brought this thing in.
Yes.
Okay, the virus was the Trojan horse. But anyhow, carry on.
Yeah.
Let me just see. I told y'all you better listen fast because it's gonna get banned, I'm sure. Then I'll have to go over to my other channel and say the same thing so they can take that one down too.
When you have a system like we have here in the United States, that a person with a moderate amount of ingenuity, some sweat equity, and a few smart decisions along the way can own a house and own a car and have a family, maybe take the occasional vacation. That really is the envy of the rest of the world. Now, we have other forces at work, such as arose in the time between 1939 and 1945, who don't want that to be the case. They want everybody under their thumb, firmly under their thumb. You will do as you're told, or you will face the consequences. Those forces have metamorphosed, shall we say, into the point where they have a large amount of say in what happens with the everyday American's life. And what they don't want is they don't want you to have a house or own your car or take vacations. As a matter of fact, they've gone as far as saying you will own nothing and you will be happy. How's that grab you? Because it doesn't grab me very good. Um, then, just when you get to the point where things start getting a little bit sane again, now all of a sudden war breaks out on the other side of the world. Now, whether you're pro or con, it doesn't really matter. What you have to ask yourself is
The
why?
timing.
Hmm?
The timing.
Yeah, why is this happening
Now.
now? And there's an old Latin expression that they use in the field of law that says "qui bono," who benefits
It ain't
by
you.
that,
It ain't you.
because it could place greater restrictions on you
That's right.
as an American or a North American, and it could impact your life in an unhappy way, simply because some guys over there are having a tiff. Now, if you were to look at the mainstream media, which I wouldn't recommend by any stretch of the imagination, they, all singing from the same song sheet, are busy saying, this person's bad, that person's doing this person's doing that, this is terrible. And at the same time, you have other.
It's a threat to our democracy.
A threat to our democracy.
It's a threat to our democracy.
It's a threat to our democracy. It's a real threat to our democracy. It's a verifiable threat to our democracy.
And we're not even a democracy.
And we're not a democracy. We're
constitutional
republic. When you ask yourself who benefits, there are international interests who are busy selling weapons to both sides. So they really don't care how many of the little people in the meantime, yes, suffer fatal consequences, as long as they get their money from the weapon sales. So doesn't that strike you as being a little bit, shall we say, mercenary, objectionable, or even downright antisocial? Yeah, so just you have to think about things, because they're determined to feed you a steady stream. You see, there's a difference between them and us. We know us. We like us. We think we're pretty fine folks. Them, we have a great deal of mistrust about them and their motivations. So whenever you hear a steady stream of things that they are promoting to you in order to get you to think a certain way, you have to think to yourself, well, as far as we're concerned, we have our own issues to think about. Getting gas in our tanks, making the rent or the mortgage payment, keeping the lights on, etc., etc. We have our own issues to deal with, our own health, the health of our children, our families, our country, right? And whereas they are busy trying to tell you that this is the most important, this is what you need to worry about. It's trying to propagate fear in the average North American mind,
which weakens your immune system.
Oh my gosh.
Because it releases a hormone called cortisol, which keeps you in the fight or flight mode.
Yep.
And it disrupts your sleep. It disrupts your immune system. It makes it more difficult for you to heal, even from the common cold or whatever. And then they want you to cover your face, so that you're breathing in your own toxins, which makes it much worse. That ought to let you know they could care less about your health. Yeah. Because if they did, why did McDonald's stay open during all this stuff? That ain't the healthiest place to eat. Why did McDonald's stay open? How come none of the doctors that were talking and advising the country, not just this country, but the other so-called specialists around the world, how come nobody said anything about eating healthy, about exercising, about, all the stuff they've been telling us all these years would help us live longer and have a better quality of life? All that went out the window. They did an about face and started telling us to do things that they know will ultimately kill you if you do it long term. They started doing that. And people just really need to take a step back and say, what happened to the carrots and the celery? What happened to the apple a day keeps the doctor away? Or what happened to eat more fruit and vegetables? No, now it's take this drug, or we're not going to let you go to work. Or, cover your face and keep breathing in your own toxins until you get Legionnaire's disease or whatever other lung infection or respiratory illness you will get if you keep doing that long term. They know it. And these are supposed to be doctors.
Yes.
And I submit to you that they are not doctors. They are professional psychopaths that could care less about your health. Okay, this is where we get banned. So I might as well just go for broke. I'm just saying, You better stop and think about what has been going on here. And the sad thing is, some people are so brain dead. And I'm not trying to be offensive. I don't care if I am, but I'm not trying to be offensive. But some people have just given up their ability to think things through and connect dots and say, now, wait a second. These are supposed to be medical professionals.
Professionals.
And I'm talking about the hospitals, the clinics, all of these places that signed off on stuff that had not been tested long term
Yes.
and will fire doctors and nurses who say, hey, wait a minute.
Yep.
I can't give this to my patient. I don't feel good about it. My conscience won't let me do it because there's not been enough long term testing.
Yeah.
They fire the doctors, they fire the nurses. Then they want to go on mainstream media talking about there's a shortage of healthcare workers.
Yes.
Or tell them you can't work unless you do this.
Yes.
And they say it's not healthy to do it. It's not safe. We don't know enough about it. Well, you're fired. Well, now patients are dying because healthcare workers there's a shortage. Yeah, they created the problem. They created the problem. So there you go. Now ban me. Go ahead. I don't care.
She's on a roll, folks.
I don't care. I'm telling the truth. Let he who has ears to hear, let him hear.
Exactly.
The rest of you, keep moving.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. What it boils down to is the fact that I think that the average North American has enough gray matter up here to be able to figure out what's good for you and what's not good for you. People who smoke know that smoking is not good for you. I used to be a smoker.
They just choose to do it.
But they choose to do
That's
it.
their choice.
That's their choice, and that's their right. And those are their consequences if they suffer those consequences. People who travel at high rates of speed know that there's a possibility that they might crash, yet they travel at high rates of speed in any case. That's their choice. And we are given free will, right? It's actually enshrined in the Constitution, the pursuit of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Everyone is entitled to that. Yet we have forces at work who say that you are not entitled to life. There's a bill in front of the Maryland legislature right now. It was passed through the House. It hasn't made it as far as the Senate. That allows people to kill their babies up to 28 days after they're born. If for whatever reason you've decided you don't want that baby, well, you can just do away with it. And that's just fine with them. See, that's not fine with me.
And that's not abortion. That's just murder.
Yes.
That's that's infanticide.
Yeah. Yeah. There are a lot of laws that are being put on the books these days that are counterproductive to the continuation of civilization. One of the things would be, let's say, the Second Amendment. The Second Amendment says that you are allowed, if you are not prohibited by law, you are allowed to own some sort of ballistic weapon if you choose to do so. It's not saying that you have to.
Right.
It's not saying that you may not. It's saying that if you choose to do so, you may. Yet there is constant fighting in various levels of government, be it city, county, state, or federal level, to remove that right from you. I'll give you an example. Chicago, that bastion of free speech and thought, you are not allowed to purchase a weapon anywhere in the city of Chicago. They've outlawed all shops that sell those types of implements.
And yet.
But why doesn't that... How do you describe the blacked out Suburbans with no license plates that are driving into the impoverished areas of Chicago, opening the back doors and dropping crates of handguns on the ground and then driving away? What would possibly be their motivation for that? I think that they have motivations that we don't subscribe to. Those sorts of things that how could it possibly be in your interest to create a situation where the homicide death via ballistics in Chicago is at an all-time high, and it's climbing higher? You know, people can't go out and have a barbecue in their backyard because you might get shot. You know, to my way of thinking, they have some fallacious notions. We as individuals don't believe that's the right course of action. But they, on the other hand, have some reason for doing this, what they're doing.
Hi, Vashti.
Hey, Vashti, what'd she say?
She said they shut down the gyms. Yeah,
They did shut down the
they
gym.
shut down the gym. You can't exercise. You can't eat right. You got to get your food from McDonald's or
And
Burger
stay
King.
inside.
And you stay inside.
Don't get vitamin D.
You can't get vitamin D. No sunlight. No fresh air. Because the boogeyman is out there to get everything that they told people to do around the world.
Yes.
Destroys the immune system.
Yeah.
And people still think it's for my safety. It's for my safety. You need a shrink, okay?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I mean, come on, folks. We've been living on this planet this long without that kind of advice and been making it just fine, okay? Yeah. People know when you got a cold, you sneeze into your arm, you don't sneeze in somebody's face.
Yeah.
People, this is common sense stuff. Yeah. And people just lost their minds. Now, I got to tell you.
She's got to tell you.
No one living today was around in 1918 when the Spanish flu swept through this continent. Okay, nobody alive today was alive then. We just know the history report that we were given. And listen, taking into consideration the reports that we get now from mainstream media, now that's questionable. Whether that happened the way they say it did. Okay. Yeah. You can't believe anything that you hear on the news. I mean, you can't believe anything. Nothing. It's like, it's one big joke. Our media is dead last in integrity around the world. They polled something like 47 media outlets and did a poll from the public about integrity and honesty, reliability, and all that. Yeah. Our media, the American media, was dead last when it came to integrity. That's how much they lie and do all this propagating of fictitious mess to try to get people to bend their conscience in a certain direction. Yeah. And people really need to, grow up, folks. Come on. What happened to castor oil? What happened to eat more fish? What happened to all of it? Went out the window. Not a single doctor, except for the ones who were losing their licenses for telling you to eat right. Yeah. Get out in the sun. You need vitamin D. The vitamin D, the rays that come from the sun, and it's like 3 different types that come from the sun at different types of the day, stimulate your immune system in different ways. These doctors that were advising people around the world, stay inside, have sex with your mask on. I'm not kidding. Take your shower, leave your mask on. These people are sick. They're nuts. And you know what? After a while, it just became a circus. After a while, it's like you could see the marionettes pulling the little strings just to see how high they could get people to jump, how stupid they could get people to be. I'm serious. It was an insult to humanity to have some of these people acting as if, hey JB, acting as if they were professionals. They knew ethically that they were committing crimes against humanity. Yes. They know it. Yes. They know what they've done. Yeah.
They consider themselves above the law.
This is a modern day Holocaust, people. Yes. And you ain't got to be Jewish to get killed in this one. Okay. Nope. You just got to be stupid. Yep. You just got to trust your government. It doesn't matter what country you're from. Any of these countries that bought onto this had a reason for doing it. Follow the money. I'm telling you, follow the money. Yep. When they shut down gyms and shut down everything that's wholesome, health food stores shut down. Yeah. But McDonald's was open. Yep. Burger King was open. Yep. All the fast food places, you had to go through the drive-through to get those greasy fries and them $1,600 calorie burgers and all this. You could go get that slathered in grease and all kinds of other mess that'll give you heart disease. Yep. Go get that.
Go on.
But don't go to Whole Foods. I mean, don't go to these other places
Yeah, don't.
where you got to get vegetables and fruit and all this kind of stuff. And don't try to get nothing organic because they tried to shut down organic farms.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm just saying, I mean, here we are, nearly 3 years into 2 weeks. To slow the spread. Things, you know what? And things didn't slow down. People got sick of it and said, I'm not doing this anymore.
Not doing it anymore.
I'm not doing this anymore. Nope. This is ridiculous. Clearly, you can't slow it. Nope. Ain't nothing worked. Nope. Right? And I used to be a poll worker.
Yes.
I was an inspector at the voting polls. And I will never forget the first 6 months or whatever it was that this thing happened. This lady came in and she was new to the area. Yeah. And so I had to do a provisional ballot for her. Yeah. And she was terrified. I mean, this woman was about to have a panic attack. Yeah. Okay. Now, before I worked the poll, I let the county election board know I'm not covering my face. Okay. I need to be able to breathe. I need air. I'm not covering my face. Now, if you got a face shield, okay, I'll put the clear shield on because my mouth and my nose is not restricted from air. Yeah. I'll put the shield on, no big deal. It's just a big old visor that comes down to here and it's just clear. Okay, fine. Sits out about 3 inches from your face, no big deal. This woman come in. She had her face covered.
Yes.
And she had to give me her ID. Well, the poor woman, God bless her, she takes her ID out and she's shaking. Yeah. And I said, are you okay? And she says, aren't you scared? Yeah. I said,
of what?
Of what? I didn't know what honestly, I didn't know what she was talking about. And she said, of the virus. Uh-huh. Why aren't you wearing a mask? And I said, aren't you wearing one? Uh-huh. And she says, well, yes. Yeah. I said, well, isn't it supposed to protect you? Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, then what are you worried about?
She had gloves on.
Yes.
A face shield and a mask. And she was terrified.
She was terrified. I said, ma'am, just put your ID down on the desk. I don't have to touch you. Just put it down on the desk. So she put it down on the desk and I picked it up. And matter of fact, I didn't even pick it up. I told her, put it down on the desk. She put it down on the desk. I said, you can push it toward me. I was trying to help her because I was okay.
Poor thing.
So she pushed it toward me and I looked at it and took her ID and everything. I said, okay, I'm finished. You can have it back. So I didn't even touch it because I didn't want the woman to sit there and die on my watch, okay, from a heart attack or whatever. Just listen, just calm down, take a breath. It's okay. And she made it out alive. She made it out alive. We got the.
She was convinced she was going to fade out.
She was. She was genuinely terrified.
Exactly.
That's how much of this fake news she had taken in. It was real. It was very sad. And I thought, wow, if anything kills her, it'll be this. She will. Sure. You know what the scripture talks about? Men's hearts failing them for fear. People literally having heart attacks.
Yep.
Because they are so terrified of what's going on. And that woman, I didn't want her to drop dead in front of me, so I wasn't going to take her ID. I'll just look at it. You just put it down there and slide it toward me. Yeah. We'll be all right. You'll get out in a minute, Yeah. But my goodness, people, I mean, come on. At what point is it enough?
Come on.
I mean, because
somebody.
We were about 3-4 weeks into it, and I was like, wait a minute. Because the narrative kept changing. Yep. These are supposed to be professional doctors at the national microphone. Yep. One doctor saying this, the other doctor saying this. Then you got this little beady-eyed little guy, a little tiny little guy with a big ego, just feeling his oats because he's pulling strings like a puppet master. And I'm watching this guy and I'm saying, you know what? Something's wrong with this. Yep. And I was done.
Yeah.
At that point, that was it for me.
It didn't take long. It was 3 or 4 weeks. We started to recognize the inconsistencies in the reports that we were getting. We were getting reports from some sources that were saying one thing. We were getting reports from another source that were saying something else altogether different. And then we started looking at the actual statistics, and they're saying it's 99.9997% survivable if you're under 85 and don't have a bunch of comorbidities.
Yeah. So, we were done. We were done with it. I mean, we were cooperating in the beginning, but then something clicked, and I'm like, this doesn't make sense. This guy is supposed to know. He's supposed to be the top guy
Yeah.
in the medical. That man needs to go to jail for crimes against humanity.
Yes.
It's ridiculous
Yes.
what he has done. Not
Yes.
just him, but others around the world. What's her name? Tim's in Canada.
Teresa Tam.
Tam in
Yeah.
Canada, and the other different ones
Yeah.
that signed on to this mess because they were getting paid big money
Big money.
from the pharmaceutical companies to keep their mouths shut and go with the narrative.
Yep.
They knew what they were doing, people. They knew what they were
Oh,
doing.
yes.
It was a big chess game, and the rest of humanity was a pawn.
That's
That's
correct.
what they were doing. But guess what? I opted out.
Yep.
I didn't participate then,
No, we stopped.
and I ain't participating now. I'm done. I'm not doing it.
If
So
we had to enter the county building and they required a mask, or city hall and they required a mask, we'd put a mask on and then take it off as soon as we got out. But we weren't wearing masks the rest of the time. I can't remember when was the last time I wore my mask. I might have worn a mask 3 or 4 times during the whole period. Yeah, hi JB. When did we pop on? Well, about 40 minutes ago.
yeah,
so
sorry, I didn't give. We
catch
didn't.
the first
Yeah, we didn't give it was just a spontaneous thing. I was like, we need to do a video.
There you go.
I'm getting ready to hop over to my other channel and talk about some survival stuff,
Yeah.
but and tell people, give people some tips or whatever. Unless y'all want to hear it here, then I'll do it here too. But
And
if you want to hear it here, put it in the comment section and we'll do some talking about that too before we go.
Yes. And hey, JB, I'm looking at your comment. I'm sorry for your loss. Are you a nonconformist? The most interesting people in the world are. So take heart. That's one thing that he got right about you. You're not going down dumb. Well,
I know
I'm
that's
glad
right.
to hear that. Because there are a lot of people who are just swallowing it hook, line, and sinker. But if you swallow it hook, line, and sinker, well, then you're on the hook, aren't you? And you're going to end up in the frying pan,
Well, you're
which
gonna
is
sink.
yes,
Yeah.
which is their intention. And we're not that tight. It's not that we're countercultural. We just hold to the culture. We hold to the beliefs that we have. We know that there is eternal truth, and we choose to cleave to that truth and stand on the rock, because everything is swirling all around us.
Yeah,
and their determination is to keep it swirling, so you don't know which way is up, and you have to count on them. In New Zealand, their Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern said, "Don't talk to your neighbor. Don't talk to the people that you meet on the street or your friends. Don't listen to them. You have to listen to us. We are your sole source of truth." And
we'll tell you what you need to know. We'll tell you what you need to think and believe. What kind of madness is that? And you got some people going, okay.
As soon as you hear something like that, or you hear anybody setting themselves up as a bastion of truth which goes against your basic beliefs, then those are the people you want to avoid at all costs.
Yeah.
They've put laws through, for example, in Australia. If they think that you have the plague, whether you show symptoms or not, whether you have a positive test or not, they can take you, put you into a camp. They can bulldoze your house with all your possessions inside. Oh, by the way, you still owe the mortgage on that house.
Yeah, it's crazy.
These people who are doing this sort of thing are one half a step away from what we saw in Germany in the late 1930s. They say, this is for your safety. This is for your safety. And in the meantime, atrocities were taking place. But this is for your safety. Everybody agrees. This is for your safety. It's a threat to our democracy. It's a threat to our democracy. It's a threat to our democracy.
And we've never been a democracy.
Amber, we are live. Hi, Amber. How are you doing there?
Yeah, sorry. It was very spontaneous. Chris and I were just sitting here talking about things that are going on. And we just really felt like, we need to go on and just say some things. So I'm telling everybody, you better listen fast, because they took my video down on my other channel. They might take this one down too. So you better listen quick.
Exactly. JB says people will eat crap and they know it's wrong politely with a knife and fork.
Yes. How about that? Yep.
I'm going to have to take your word for that. I personally have never. But yeah, the if you have you ever heard of Luwak coffee?
Oh, yes.
Luwak coffee comes from Indonesia, and the coffee beans are eaten by a little type of it's a type of cat that lives up in the trees. The coffee beans are eaten by the little cat. It extracts the fruit, I suppose, off the coffee bean, excretes the rest. They collect that, roast it, and then they sell that as Luwak coffee. It's probably the world's
Yeah.
most expensive coffee. I
And
have
it's
never
and
tried it.
and it's cat manure. It's literally cat manure or some species of cat,
Anyway,
feline. Yeah.
yeah, yuck. No, says Amber. No, no, we're not interested in that either. We like our coffee the way we like our coffee, and that's just going to have to do. But you can tell that they keep changing. Yeah, poop coffee, very expensive. Yeah. Uh, you can tell that they're changing the narrative. It changes from day to day. They the news, the actual verifiable news, for example, 243,000 ballots showing up at 4 o'clock in the morning to a polling place where the polls closed at 8 o'clock, and those ballots being counted. That seems odd to me.
Here we go.
It's
Now
it's
we're getting banned for real.
it's it's not normal procedure. The sister, having worked at a polling place, knows how that goes. You open, you take the votes, you close, you take all of the votes, you take them to the county, and they
Yeah.
do what they do from there. But
Yeah.
the idea of uh, Amber would probably be able to comment, uh, 30 votes coming from an address which is a vacant lot with gravel.
Yeah. These kinds of things were literally happening, and we have here in our state as well. We have a lot of states that are trying to fix this.
Yeah.
Now, the mainstream media is not covering what is going on behind the scenes with this.
Yep.
How this stuff has been challenged in court,
Yep.
is being uncovered.
Yep.
People have been fired from their jobs because they got caught
Yep.
doing this kind of stuff. And the mainstream media wants the general public to remain ignorant,
Yeah.
and to think that there was nothing wrong with what happened
Yeah.
during that time. Okay. And so it was wrong, it was stolen, and that's a fact. I mean, like the guy or hate the guy, everybody, anyone that runs for any office should be entitled to a legitimate election process. It doesn't matter. Let the people decide, right? And it's really, it's sad. It's sad, and it's sad how many people don't want to hear about it. Now, some people don't know about it because all they do is they ingest a steady diet of the communist news network, or they're listening to Fox News, or they're listening to some other controlled opposition that is telling them what they want them to believe,
Yep.
rather than them checking alternative sources. If you want the truth, listen to both sides of a story and then make a judgment. Don't just listen to the side that appeals to your emotions or that appeals to your point of view. I like to talk to other people who have a definite opposing point of view than I do, because I want to hear what got you there. How did you come to that mindset? How did you come to that decision? What was your decision making process? Because you might be able to sway me on some things. I want to hear it.
Yeah.
I don't close my ears to people just because I may not agree with their position on things, or I may not agree with what they're saying. I want to hear what they're saying, because I might come back with, yeah, there's that. You understand what I'm saying? We can learn from each other. I don't feel like my point of view is always the right one. And here's the thing: if we were all in a room together and we were all in agreement all the time with everything, then everybody else ain't necessary. You only need one, right? Somebody ain't necessary. So I want to hear from other people. I want to hear from the younger generations. We were talking to some younger ones not too long ago, and it was stunning to hear them say things like, Well, we don't even think about having children, or we don't even think about Social Security because we just figured we wasn't going to have any anyway. You know, now when I was coming up, you did hear people say things like there ain't gonna be no Social Security by the time you get grown. Well, there is Social Security, but it's whatever. I don't know what it's supposed to be. I know what it is,
Yeah.
and not even everybody can get it. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But anyway, so the younger generations think differently than we do.
Yep.
Because they're facing challenges that we didn't have, just like we're facing things that our parents did not have to contend with.
Yep.
Their parents did not have to contend with the things that they had to contend with. I mean, when you're dealing with I gotta feed the horse in the morning so I can take the carriage to town, you ain't worried about gas prices.
Yep.
You got a horse.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So different generations deal with different issues according to what's going on in the society at that time. Right now, we're looking at very high gas prices. We're looking at food shortages. Now we're looking at a halt to fertilizer.
Yeah.
Let that hit you, people. You think things got crazy when the ships were sitting out in the Pacific Ocean, not allowed to come in, also by design. Some of them were not allowed to dock. Others wanted to dock, but they couldn't dock because there wasn't no workers to unload. Right. So they just had to sit there. Well, how come there weren't any workers? Well, there weren't any workers because people were told you can't have a job unless you take this thing into your arm, and they said, well, I don't know what it is, so I don't want it in me. Right. If you want to do it, you do it. But I don't want to roll the dice on my health. I don't want to do it. Well, you're fired. Okay. So now there's a shortage of workers. Well, why is there a shortage of workers? Because you got to take this medicine. Why you got to take the medicine? Because somebody unleashed a virus. Well, why'd they do that? Follow the money. There you go. It goes, follow the money. This was not an accident, people. It was not an accident. It's all because they've been destroying the dollar for years. For years. And it really set things on its heels when we had the best economy of my lifetime just 4 years ago. And now look at it. Not even 4 years ago. And look what has happened in 1 year. In 1 year's time, at the stroke of a pen, the powers that be decided, the people are having it too good right now. We really need to do something about this because if they're prospering, then that means they're taking money from us.
So
we got to do something about that. They're getting too much money. They're getting money that we should be getting. So we need to do something to slow down all this prosperity so that it can come to us instead of to the people. Right. That's the name of the game. And so
I heard a statistic that 80% of the money in circulation today has been printed within the last 4 years.
Yeah.
Hang on a second.
More money in the last year was printed than has been printed ever in one time like that, ever in the history of this nation.
If you have, let's say, a cup of coffee, 8 ounces of a cup of coffee. So you know what you've got. You've got 8 ounces of coffee. Now, if you pour that into a 16-ounce cup and you add 8 ounces of water, you don't have the same thing that you had before you started.
No, you got dirty water. It ain't even coffee anymore.
No, it's more like gas station coffee.
Yeah, ooh, the Royal Cup, whatever. It's pretty bad. So, and the high prices came. And I tell you, think about it like this. If you think about things that are worth a lot of money, it's because they're rare, right? The less of that item there is, the more value it has, right? So if you're printing money by the trillions, and then Congress just gave themselves a 21% raise in the middle of a recession, they gave themselves a raise. They didn't give you one. But they gave them, but it's for your good. It's for your safety.
This is for your safety.
People need to stop and look and say, you've been played, okay? These people have made a jackass out of most of the world, and half of the world still ain't getting it. It's just sad. So it's
Amber calls it combat coffee.
Yeah. Oh Lord. Well, there's that military coffee. Then listen, don't be too hard on that now. You just have to make that stuff. But anyway, listen, people, we just wanted to come on and encourage you, try to encourage you. Listen, don't get scared, get wise.
Yeah.
Don't be scared. Be wise.
Hot topic. Think.
Think, right? Do what you need to do to make your life bearable right now. Managing, learn to manage your life in an upside down world. That's what this title was on this video. You've got to learn to do things differently. You have to learn to live more simply. Now, you might say, I already don't do anything. I don't go anywhere. I don't do anything. Well, good. You got a head start. Okay. But here's the thing. I have been trying to tell people for years, long time, that this was coming. Now, and my husband can tell you that. I mean, 10 years anyway.
Yeah. When we first got married, nigh on 14 years ago, it'll be 14 years this month. And Patricia came north.
This year, not this month.
This year. In August the 1st.
You were there. You know you were there, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
One of the greatest days of my life.
Okay. Don't get romantic. Go ahead.
Okay, I'll stop.
See how he gets distracted?
I'll stop now.
That's because he loves me.
That's because I love you.
Okay, stop talking to me.
Deeply.
Okay.
Truly.
Oh, Lord.
Passionately.
Here we go.
There you are. So when Patricia first came north, I had a sack of beans and a bag of rice and some cans of stuff in the cupboard. And a portable stove. And I knew that where I was, all I had to do was walk out the front door, walk 25 paces that way, and there was a creek with fresh water. Now you might have to boil it or filter it or whatever, but you had drinking water, and we had some food in case, because you never know when a storm's going to roll in or anything could happen. Power could go out, whatever. Mm-hmm. So it's incumbent upon you, dear viewers, to put in some rice and some beans just in case, because you don't, and a bag of coffee while you're at it, not combat coffee, but while you're at it, because anything could happen at any time. Now, I'm not prognosticating. I'm not saying the world's going to end and it's going to happen soon. No, I'm not doing that. And I'm not saying Jesus is coming back tomorrow. I don't even buy green bananas anymore. I've heard some people who actually say that because they're convinced. I'm not saying that either. What I am saying is that if things go bad, and they could, they say you're only 72 hours away from civilizational chaos. 9 missed meals and people get funky, right? So you have to be prepared for that kind of situation should it take place. And some of the sources that we've been listening to say, no, you should be prepared for 2 years of nothing. Now, that to me, maybe not, or a year or 6 months, but it certainly makes sense to have something in your larder in case things go bad. And believe me, if things go in that direction, don't bother phoning 911 for help, because all them guys, all the Leos, they're going to be helping their own families. They're not going to be working on the public's behalf. They're going to be taking care of their own.
Unless they're working for the government and they decide that they're coming to your house to get your stuff.
Yes.
Because
there's already an executive offer for
let me tell you what you might not have known.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was signed into law
during
the Obama administration, that if the government felt that it was necessary to go door to door to confiscate food, water, ammo, whatever, from the citizens because of an emergency, which they're bound to create one. They did this one, then it is legal for the government to come to your home and take your stuff. Okay? Let that hit you. Why would he sign something like that in the law? See, here's my philosophy. My philosophy is this. Y'all been printing money all this time. Just print yourself some money and go buy what you want.
That's right.
But anyway, this could be a very long video, and there's some things that I want to say, but I think I'm going to say them over on my other channel. Let me just give you a couple of, 2012. Let me just give you a couple things, you guys. We're not saying the things that we're saying because we want to scare anyone. Okay. I'm not trying to
No,
scare you. We're dealing with
we're not
reality.
scared.
This is what's really happening right now. And the way the price of food is moving and gasoline and stuff like that,
Yeah.
people are already in dire straits. I mean,
Yep.
you will always have the poor with you. The scripture says that, right?
Yep.
But people that were poor
Yeah.
are desperate
Yep.
now.
Yep.
People that were just barely making it
Yep.
ain't making it no more.
Yep.
They're not, which makes you a target. Okay, because people do desperate things when they are desperate. These people, or some people, I should say, will find themselves doing things that it never occurred to them
Yeah.
that they would do, because it never occurred to them that they would be in this situation where they would have to do it.
Yeah.
And so, um, I just want to encourage you guys to get what you can get now.
Yeah.
It's going to cost you more.
Yeah.
If it didn't occur to you before now that you needed to have some extra food. Now, at one time, Red Cross, you can't trust them either, used to say 2 weeks. And that was when we were having a lot of these storms and stuff like that. First they said 3 days. Then they changed it to 2 weeks.
Yep.
Then they changed it to 30 days. Then they changed it to 90 days.
Yeah.
Then they changed it to 6 months.
Yeah.
Now they ain't saying nothing.
Yeah.
So now they ain't saying nothing because it's like, this is bad. And so you need to get what you can get, as much as you can get. And let me say something about that, because I am so sick and tired of people talk about, whenever there's a crisis, people start hoarding food. I'm telling you, and if I haven't, and I've heard a lot of that kind of ignorant talk come from out of the mouths of people who are supposed to be born again believers. Okay, that you want to tick me off, say something stupid like that, because that principle is perfectly scriptural.
Yep.
God told Joseph, store up 7 years of grain because there's a famine coming to the land. Okay, he told him what to do, and Joseph was able to feed an entire nation because he did that. I guess he was a hoarder. I don't know. But anyway, whatever. People are just stupid. And it's discouraging, because then people feel like they have to choose between their faith and their cabinet.
Yeah.
Come on. I mean, you can eat and still believe in God, okay?
Oh, yes.
You can eat and still obey the scriptures.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm just saying, let me explain the difference very quickly between a hoarder and a prepper. Okay. A prepper is preparing and storing things that they will use.
Yeah.
They will use it for their family.
Yeah.
They will use it to help their neighbor. They will use it to help their community. And they're storing it because they see hard times coming. A hoarder is an impulse gatherer.
Yeah.
They see the next shiny thing and they think, oh, I want that. Oh, I want this. Oh, I want that. Oh, I got to have that. I got to have this. I want that. I want this. I want that. They don't use it. They don't share it. They don't need it. It's an impulse. It's a sickness that they cannot control. And they have separation anxiety. Not only can they not control the impulse to get it, but they have no inclination to share it. They cannot let go of it, of any of it. Yeah. That's why some people literally die in their homes when things collapse and fall on them. Yeah. That's a hoarder. Yeah. That is not a prepper. Those are the differences. And so when people say things like that, it just burns my hide. I think you're talking out of your ignorance, so stop talking to me, because I don't want to hear it. Yeah. Anyway, there you go.
We know of a fellow who has like 11 toasters, 7 blenders, and 5 instant pots. I'm not sure why, but that's what he makes him happy. And I don't think more or less of him for it, but I'm not going to join him in that camp.
Right. Now here's the thing. Now, let me say this. If you have, for example, if you have a camp stove, let's say you're living in an all electric apartment, right? Everything runs by electric. Your heat, your air, your stove, everything runs by electric. Okay, so what happened a couple of years ago
Oh, in Texas?
in
Whew.
Texas when they were hit with that horrible winter storm? I mean,
A little over a
we
year ago. Yeah.
we were all hit with that storm,
Yeah.
okay? But people that were living in apartments that are usually all electric, I mean, they were in very, very bad shape. It was sub-freezing temperatures that are not typically seen in this. We're not north. It's not typically seen here in Texas or in Oklahoma or anywhere in the Southwest like that, where temperatures plunge beneath
Cold.
zero into the minus 20, minus 30 in Texas.
It was cold.
The state was not prepared for that kind of thing. And if you think the powers that be are not manipulating the weather, you're wrong. Okay, you are wrong. There is a program on the government record that they can change weather. I remember here several years ago because Oklahoma was going through a drought.
Yeah.
And we had a lieutenant governor by the name of Lieutenant Governor Mary Fallon. She had to sign a bill giving whoever it was permission to, as they say, seed the clouds so that we could get rain so that we did not lose all of our crops.
Yeah.
Now, what they seeded the clouds with is beyond me, but they made it rain so that, because we had been in a drought for 5 years, they wanted to save the crops or it would have destroyed the state. We would have been bankrupt, you know. And so she signed this bill where they could do that, manipulate the weather over the state so that the crops would be saved. So don't tell me that they can't do stuff to the weather. I've been living here 32 years. I was here when she was in office, and I know when that thing happened, okay? It was on the news. It's public knowledge. So if they can do it in this state, they can do it anywhere. And if they can do it here, they can do it in any country that has the capability of doing that. So anyway, I don't know how I got off on that one, but because I really forgot all about that just now.
Yeah, the cereal crops die off. The wheat, oats, barley, rice, those sorts of things, they die off from lack of water. The cotton usually survives fairly well in the dry, so there'll still be some cotton, but they could not water their animals fast enough to keep them alive. They had to sell off all their stock.
Yeah.
Because they couldn't physically get the water to the cattle fast enough to keep them from dying of dehydration.
Yeah. JB says, JB says, my food pantry will allow me to survive approximately 6 months. Now, if you come in for mine, I'm going to burn it down. I hope you like everything well done. So Emerson, what did I tell you over 4 months ago? People are lazy. Not all, but most. That's true. They would rather have somebody else telling them what's really going on than for them to take the time and put the pieces together, gather the information from different sources and say, now, wait a minute, what about this? Well, if this is true, then this can't be true, because this doesn't work with that, critical thinking.
I remember in 2008 when the former president was elected, he was talking about all these good jobs, shovel-ready jobs, and improvements to the infrastructure. By the way, they haven't improved the infrastructure.
No infrastructure.
But they were doing man in the street interviews, and they stopped one young fellow and they said, well, the president's talking about all these good jobs, good high-paying jobs. If you could find a good high-paying job, what would you like to do? He says, I don't want no damn job. Just give me my check.
That's a quote. I was stunned and embarrassed, that anybody would say anything. He didn't want a job. He didn't want to work. Nope. He just wanted to get money from the taxpayers. That's it. And let me tell you, the money comes from the taxpayer.
Exactly.
The government has no money. No. They get their money by imposing taxes on
you and me.
Yeah, people that work or whatever. Yeah. That they have no money unless they print it. And then when they print it, they flood it into the economy, which makes it less valuable, which is what I was trying to say before. Yep. The more rare something is, the more value it has, the more expensive it is. Yep. But the more money you pump into an economy or anything, the less value it has because everybody has it. Yep. It's not valuable. That's not worth anything. If you go to Zimbabwe, and you have a barrel full of money, the barrel is worth more than the money.
Yeah.
I mean, that's true. That's the truth. That's not, I ain't hypothesizing. That's the truth. So, anyway, that's where we are, folks. Just do what you can, do the best you can, get what you can. And when it comes to having an all electric place, this is what I was going to say a minute ago. You need to have a backup.
Yeah.
You need to have an alternate way of preparing your food. You need to have extra water. You need to anything that you have now that is dependent upon modern technology, you need to have an alternative that does not require modern technology. In other words, like I say, if you have an all electric apartment, then you may want to get a butane stove. One of those little things.
Heck, buy a can of Sterno if you have to.
You buy or get a little rocket stove.
Yeah.
Something where you can continue to cook your food so that you can continue to live.
Yeah.
You have to have an alternate heat source.
Yep.
Now, here's an idea. This is just an idea. If your electric goes out and you have heat, your heat is electric, you can take and you can go get it now because they have it because it's spring tomorrow, first day of spring. And the big box stores, Home Depot and Lowe's and all them should have these big clay pots with a tray. Okay, here's a hint. If you get a big clay pot with the tray that's the next size up from that pot, right? And you get some long burning candles, them little tea light candles, you could put 3 or 4 under that pot, invert it, put the candles under there, light them, put the tray down, the clay tray, sit it on a brick, invert the pot, you have a heater. It'll keep you alive in the winter if your heat goes out. It'll radiate heat. It's a clay oven is what it is. It'll radiate heat. There are candles that you can get from Amazon. See, I'm not against the big box stores, but I don't want to give them a whole lot of my money because they got a whole lot of money when everybody else was being put out of business. So I'm trying to help the little guy now. That's my goal. But you can get these candles. They're called long burning candles. Some of them come in tea light. Some of them are tall. They burn for 7 or 8 hours a piece. You take 4 of those candles and put them under your homemade clay heater. You're going to have heat at least through the night while you're sleeping, right? Make sure that you had, now this sounds crazy because we're coming into winter. So how would you keep yourself cool? Now, what would you suggest? How would a person keep themselves cool? He's drawing a blank.
Oh,
okay.
You're asking me a question? How
I said, how would you?
If you have access to water, you can get a towel soaked with water. If you place it on your head or across your shoulders, it takes heat from your body and
it'll help
it into
evaporate
the
atmosphere.
The heat. As a matter of fact, shortly after we bought Grace, we were traveling up over the mountains and we came down the other side of the mountains. On one side of the mountains, it was about 74 degrees. On the other side of the mountains, it was 102. And somebody was hot. I had to put a couple cans of Freon in the air conditioning and then the dash air to get it going again. But I was very hot. And fortunately, the tripping sister knew what to do. She got a couple of towels soaked with, and I put them up over top of my head like that to prevent my little brain from frying right out.
Yeah.
Stay in the shade. Don't work during the heat of the day. Work in the morning or work in the latter part of the afternoon.
Depending on your job. I mean, if you're working a shift job, you don't get to choose what part of the day you work in.
And in the shift jobs, my daughter was in the Canadian military. If it got too cold, they were allowed to work a certain period of time, and then they had a mandatory period of time of warming up. The same with the heat. You work so much time in the heat and then a mandatory period of cooling down because they can't kill off their stock, and their stock is the enlisted.
Yes. So, and that's a whole nother subject, what they've done to our military. But anyway, I'm not even. I'm
She's
just not. I'm not even.
She's not.
I'm just not. I'm not. They'll kick me off YouTube permanently.
Yeah.
But anyway, okay, you guys, it's been an hour and
14 minutes.
14 minutes. So I'm going to let you go. But thank you for signing on. You could have been anywhere else. And I know this was very spontaneous. But like I said, we were sitting here talking. I said, we need to do a video. We need to do a live video and just talk to people about this. And I know we said a lot. And, for those of you that came on late, just go back, listen to the replay, and and leave your comments, which you have been doing, but leave your comments in the comment section. I care about people. I really do. And I hate to see what has happened to people's lives been turned upside down. We've had friends that have died of natural causes or other causes, and but it was put on their death certificate that they died from that plague, and it wasn't true. It was about money. The
Yep.
hospital got money
Yep.
for listing that on their death certificate, and it sickened me. It just made me sick because I knew that that's not what they died from.
Yeah.
It's just ridiculous. But anyway, you guys take care. I'm going over to my other channel.
You can pick her up again on channel
You
2.
pick me up on the Silver Crown Natural Gray Hair. I'm fixing to jump over there for a few minutes. I didn't give a warning about that either. But over there, I want to talk some more about some other stuff that I didn't talk about over here.
We thank you for sharing your time with us. We
Yeah.
realize you could be anywhere doing anything. And the fact that you chose to spend some time with us, we greatly appreciate it. And we look forward to seeing you next time.
All right, you guys. I'll see you on the other channel, the Silver Crown Natural Gray Hair. I'm going over there right now. Take care. Bye
Bye.
bye.
Bye bye. Good job, baby. Good job, baby.